you can see, I'm sharing my desktop, and it was the easiest way to show you all what's going on. So I guess one of the first things that you'll see is that the view has changed, and that we can no longer just see 2x2 grid. It works a bit more like some other video platforms now, where you've got a 3x3. It will still show everyone here, unless you want to change, and we'll talk about how to change that view in a minute. So without any further delay, I'm just going to go back over to the presentation. And a few people said to me, well, it's all well and good, Martin, you showing us the new features, but how do the new features translate to the different ways of accessing Teams? So what I'm about to show you today will be available in the desktop app, which is what I'm currently using, which is you can download Teams as an app and install it on your computer. The desktop app will have the updates, and I've got the updates now. Also using it in the web browser, so you can launch Teams as another tab in your web browser. The best web browser to use is the new Microsoft Edge browser. It's called the Chromium version. It's completely rebuilt last month, and it works very well with Edge and Teams. It also works very well with Edge and all the other Microsoft apps. So we'd recommend you install that, although it does work with other web browsers as well. If you are on a Mac and you're using Safari, you'll find that Teams will move between fully fledged and preview, because only recently did Teams start working as a tab in Safari. You can download apps on tablets and phones, and Teams available on there. It tends to be that the features I'm about to show you will be slower to roll out to the tablet apps and the mobile phone apps than they are on the desktop or the website version. So if you want to get all these features straight away, I would say always use the version as a tab on the web browser first. Then usually the desktop one's quite quick, and then some point after that they will update the other apps that you can get onto tablets and also mobile devices. As far as the features we're going to look at today, it's there. Some of them have already rolled out. So the first couple are there and they've rolled out and they're available now. The other next three features, which were reports and the raise hands and also the 3x3, which I've just been talking about, rolled out only this week. They were delayed because originally it was supposed to come out in April. And then we've got one more feature which is going to be useful for schools, and that's about joining meetings, and that's supposed to be with us by the end of May, at the very latest beginning of June, but it should be the end of May. So I'm just going to jump out of the presentation and over to Teams itself. So the 3x3 grid is on by default. There are ways in the admin center, if you wanted to roll back to the old version, which is 2x2, to get 4 people on screen if you wish to, but most people have been screaming out to get more people on screen. So I think the 3x3 will be broadly welcomed. If you are talking to someone and maybe you want to make sure that that person is there, so let's say it's Julie from Turn It On. Julie, do you want to unmute your mic a minute?
Morning,
Hello,
Martin.
Julie. Hello, Julie. Welcome. Good to see you and hear from you.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, because Julie was presenting to me, and actually having the thumbnails is great if you're teaching and you're using Teams for distance learning. Maybe you're reopening from June the 1st and you're going to have some of your pupils in class and some not there. It's really good to see all your pupils and get the 9 that are most frequently active up here, and it will swap over and Teams automatically takes care of that. But if you wanted to pin someone on screen, or if this was a pupil in a distance learning lesson and they wanted to get the teacher on screen and actually not see all their classmates all the time, you can pin someone in. From an e-safety and safeguarding point of view, we always recommend, if you're using Teams for distance learning lessons, that webcams are off apart from the teacher, so people shouldn't all have their webcams on. There's an awful lot going on in the background around them. There can be noise as well, so mics off at the same time. Make sure also you're not recording images of them, and you need to make sure that parents are aware of what you're doing with the platform before you involve pupils on here. If I wanted to get Julie on my screen permanently, I can go down to here and I can press pin. And if I pin, then Julie had her video on, I would then just see Julie, if she was the teacher presenting to me. She's there in the middle of the screen, and she's down here and she's got a little drawing pin because she's pinned in place, and everyone else cascades along the bottom and I can still see them. But even if they've got their video on, they're still going to appear as their initials. Then if I want to unpin Julie, it's as quick as that, and I'm back to the grid view and it's there. Some people hadn't realized it was there, and in previous sessions I've covered it. They've gone, oh, I didn't know that was a feature. That's been a feature for quite a while. The 3x3 is the new feature, but pinning is really useful, particularly when we're starting to go back to schools and use Teams for distance learning. The next one we had recently was ending meetings on the video bar. So if I go back over here, if you go to the dots, you can end the meeting for all. Now I have got that missing because I think Darren, my colleague from Turn It On, who's also on this call, is the person who set up the meeting. So it's one of the other important things to talk about. So because he set up this meeting event and I've just joined it, he will have a button down here near stop recording that says end meeting for all. And if you want to come out of the meeting in one go and you want to make sure that everyone leaves and you haven't got anyone lingering after you to have discussions, and this is really important. I find when I'm working with secondary schools, you can often get students staying in Teams meetings and having a bit of a social and having a discussion. You can just hit end meeting for all and it stops everyone and cuts off their call all at once. But you have to be the meeting owner, the person who set up the meeting in the calendar in the first place, to have that as an option down here. But that is there. Darren, do you have that on yours? See if Darren's
yes
right.
Yes, I have.
You do. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so it is there. I just can't see it, but it's one of those things. You're only going to see that if you hit the dots. The dots are there and they're really useful. So one of the other things that you will see if I switch on my video is that I appear to be sat in an office, and that's all well and good, and it's quite useful because I'm at home, don't always have the most appropriate space to work in. So I want to mask the environment I'm in and make it look more professional or appropriate so I can use backgrounds. It was a new feature, came in end of April, beginning of May. It's not still available for everyone. I've got a few people that are using Apple Macs and the desktop Teams version where it appears not to be. But if you go into the dots, you can go to show background effects and you get a bar that will appear on the side. And the bar that will appear on the side will give you different backgrounds to choose. Now, by default, you've got backgrounds that are provided by Microsoft. So I might want to say, look, I'm going to the beach and I'm going to apply that. And off I go. And then I'm on some beach in America. It looks like Miami or something like that. I've also got schools that have started using this for immersive teachings. So I might be delivering a Minecraft lesson. So therefore, I want to theme that I'm in the Minecraft world. And then all of a sudden I'm there. I might want to be in a fantasy world. I could be over in space and I click apply and there I go. And I'm just in there. You can also go to specialist websites. So for immersive teaching, I've worked with a couple of teachers. They've said, look, we're going back, we're going to teach Egyptians and we're going to teach Victorian topic, and we want a background that's going to fit in with that. They're going to get dressed up in those clothes, but they want the background to also reflect it. So they want a street scene from a Victorian street, or they want to be an architect of an Egyptian pyramid and they want to be out where the pyramids are. So you can download and you can add other backgrounds. If I was also going to have a bit of fun, I might say, look, I am now in a prison cell. So some of you that are TV buffs will know what prison cell that was. Or I might say I'm going to pop off to the pub. So all of a sudden I'm in EastEnders and I'm in the Queen Vic. Or if I was going to have more of a science fiction creative writing theme, I could say all of a sudden I'm in the TARDIS. And there's ways to modify and add those backgrounds into Teams. There's some tutorials online from Microsoft. You just have to browse to a location on your computer. You can pop those backgrounds in, and then all of a sudden you've got the ability not only to be dressed up yourself to appear different to people, but you can have the backgrounds to fit at the same time. And that's a really useful feature, not just for having professional meetings, but also for bringing creativity in the classroom. So that's available there. Show my background effects. Those people that haven't started using them yet, they really are worth dipping into, and you can soon start to build your own repertoire of backgrounds to use. It's going to jump back over. The next one is attendance reports. So attendance reports are quite useful. On the meetings bar in the middle, which floats along here, you've got show participants. And typically, because I am now gone into a different computer this morning, and this shows you how frequently some things come and go. Up here where you've got people, you should have an arrow pointing down on the line underneath it next to the cross. And that gives you an attendance report. That's really useful for doing distance learning lessons. It can be also quite useful for staff meetings. But if you were to press that button, which isn't there now, typically it was this morning, and this is why it does come and go, you can download an attendance report, and it shows you who was presenting in the meeting, who's attending, what time they came, and it exports it as a CSV spreadsheet. So as a teacher, if you needed to be sure which pupils arrived in the lesson and how long they spent on the distance learning, or if you're looking at who came along to your whole staff meeting, you can get those reports out quite quickly. It means that you don't have to write down here who is in the meeting. As with all these things, it seems to come and go a bit at the moment, so that isn't there for me at the moment. But I know when I was on a meeting earlier with Darren from Turn It On, who's currently on this call, I did have download attendance for our meeting, and I downloaded our meeting that I was holding previously, and I've got a report of all the people that were in that meeting as a spreadsheet. Very, very useful. Again, some of these features which have only got rolled out this week, they do come and go a bit when they're initially adopted, but they will then become more stable and stay there for the whole time. Another feature that came out this week that hopefully most of you will have, on the meeting bar in the middle, there's now raise your hands. So if I wanted to indicate that I was in a meeting, somebody else was presenting and they were speaking, but you're trying to find that perfect moment to jump into the conversation. It isn't always obvious with somebody you don't know, because maybe you don't know their natural style in their pace, where you can put hands up. It's also really good for pupils because it means that they aren't having to have their mics unmuted and trying to talk over each other, or you're trying to talk and then you can't hear what's going on, and maybe they've all decided to unmute their mics. You can use the raise hands feature. Julie, have you got the raise hands feature on your meeting bar?
Yes, Martin, I have.
Okay, just because it won't be obvious for everyone else. If Julie was there, Julie has now clicked the raise hand, and can you see from the point of view of everyone else in the meeting that all of a sudden I can see a yellow raised hand has appeared? That tells me that Julie's patiently waiting. She's got a contribution, a valuable contribution she wants to make, but instead of her having to unmute her mic, she just puts the raised hands up, and then I can say, okay, I've finished talking. Julie, I can clearly see you want to contribute to this discussion. Julie, do you want to now pick up the conversation from here? Julie would switch off the raised hand and she would add something meaningful. There you go. And there you go. Julie's turned off the raised hand and she could be talking to us at this point. So raised hand is pretty new, and that's available. I said about muting everyone's mics. If you click the dots, you've got a way to turn off incoming video. So if you don't want the video on that's coming towards you, you can turn it off there. But another really useful feature on Show Participants, has been there quite a while, but again, not everyone knows about it, is the mute all. If I press the mute all, it turns off the mic for everyone in my meeting all in one go. So I don't have to go around clicking the dots and then going mute participant if the mic was on. So for Marie there, I can just do it in one go there. So the raise hand and mute mic is a very good way to manage your Teams meetings, whether you're teaching or whether you're just having a meeting with other colleagues in there at the same time. And I'll pop back into the presentation. So we've done raise your hand, we've done 3x3 grid video and pinning. The last one isn't quite there yet, but we've got a lobby feature. I know if I was to speak to Darren, because he's been running quite a few of these meetings with me, or to Julie as well, because she's been delivering quite a few webinars on behalf of the company, we can now have a lobby area, and you can switch it on and off in the Teams admin center. So the Teams admin center is the bit where you control all the features of Teams, and you can disable bits that aren't appropriate for maybe pupils, but you can have a lobby. So if I was going to start the meeting, it would mean that I would come in first, and then over here next to where I've got show participants and show conversation, I get a little pop-up bubble, and it will say the name of the person and they're waiting in the lobby, and you get an option to admit or reject them, and you would admit them to come in, but it means you've got control of your meeting. That's also especially useful if you're using a Teams meeting for distance learning and you're having a lesson. It means that pupils can't come in and join a meeting before you if they're stuck in the lobby. You need to tell them there's going to be a lobby. It's like a waiting room if you've gone to the dentist. You're sat there patiently waiting for your teacher to let you in. A bit like lining up outside a classroom in the morning if you're in primary, or in every lesson change in a secondary. But you're in control as a teacher of when the pupils come into the classroom, and they're not in there having a chat, and nothing inappropriate happens before you arrive and before you're present in the meeting or present in the lesson. I know a frequent meeting request often comes up when we discuss that, and people have put questions either in the chat or they unmute their mics, is can we stop people coming back into meetings afterwards? And that's a feature of Google and Google Hangout Meets. One of the things that I know is on the Microsoft roadmap is to not only have control of when people join meetings, is also to stop them being able to go back in and rejoin a meeting that has ended. So it means they can't use a meeting invite that you sent and put into their calendar as an opportunity to go back in and have another private party without you being there. So there is that there. If your pupils haven't worked that out, don't suggest it to them, but it should be a feature coming at some point in a future update. Today's webinar was specifically designed just to either discuss new features, features that are overlooked, or features that are coming soon. So it's not meant to be a very long presentation. It's meant to be quite short and sweet. But if anyone now, I will stop sharing my screen. Anyone now has any questions, I'll also go check the chat at the same time. It's a good opportunity for you to be able to go ahead and ask them here. And someone's put my sound keeps barking. Ravi, that's probably just due to bandwidth. And one of the joys of being at home is that if the broadband slows down or I start using a more intensive feature on the laptop, sometimes the sound goes a bit Dalek. And it isn't always the clearest. Also, if you are doing distance teaching and you're not in school and you do it from home, be aware if you've got a slow broadband connection, that can also affect it and make it go a bit croaky. Someone's put in, can you show us the option for lobby and admin? I can't at the moment because in my turn it on login, which I'm using for this presentation, I'm not an administrator, so therefore I can't go into the Teams admin center. So I can't on this call, but that could be something we could arrange on a future call. There's possibilities of more webinars coming up after Easter, but I'm just not given the admin rights as an employee of the company to go in and change admin settings. But I can show you in theory where it is, and you can go in there. So if I went into here and I'm going to go into, here's my SharePoint. I click where I've got my apps here, and where that says partner, there will be an option there that says admin. If you can't find it, you can go, actually, I'm not sharing my screen. Hold on, let me reshare my screen. If I go into here, you go into your Office 365 online. Those people that use Desktop Outlook, I really would advise you to get used to going in and using your email and your Outlook online. Everything is here in one place and everything connects there, and the updates are online. If you go to the app launch in the top left-hand corner, you'll see, if you've got admin rights, a grey gear with an A that says admin, not partner. And then you go in there and you search for Teams Admin Center. And it's quite straightforward. There's lots of buttons you slide on and off, but that's where you can either enable lobby or disable lobby. From memory, I think we can control that in the calendar as well. So if I go back over into here and I go into calendar, and let's say I'm going to add a dummy meeting in, I'm going to go there and add a meeting. If I've scheduled the meeting, so I'm just going to call it test. Julie, I'm going to invite you as a dummy, okay?
Okay, Martin.
So Julie's invited to my 12 to 12:30 meeting. You can put it in a channel as well. So I might decide, I also run GDPR for the company, so I'm going to put it in GDPR. I'm going to have the meeting in there, which means you get a notification for that. I'm going to say it's a test agenda, and I'm going to press send. I'm just going to see if this is still here. The meeting then rolls through. This is another way should be able to get the lobby settings as well. Just got to wait for that little circle in the corner. You might not see it very clearly, but it means that the meeting is being provisioned at the Microsoft end. Because I'm on a call, that might take a bit longer. Sometimes you find during the day that can take a little bit longer. But once you've got the meeting, you need to be the meeting owner for this. Once you've got the meeting created, you should be able to go in and have an option to enable and disable lobby. That meeting is, of course, purposely taking a little while. While that's doing that, I'm just going to go back and see if there's any more questions. I'll just unshare the screen. Okay, so Darren's got it on his screen. Darren, do you want to share your screen and do that then?
Yeah.
So Darren's going to take the session from me and show you how it looks from his end. Off you go, Darren.
Okay, so I assume I could just go into like one that I've already created.
Yeah, if you go into one that you own.
Sorry, that's a Google one. So let's try this one.
You could go into today's if you want.
So
yeah, more, that's it there. Meeting options. Does it come up with meeting options when you clicked it, Darren?
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's opened another browser. Hang on, I have to change.
Oh, okay, no problem. The joys of having more than one tab.
Yeah.
And then in here, you've got other options. So you can see who can bypass the lobby. You can have everyone, or you can let people from your organization. So in your school, in other words, will be able to come straight in. Unfortunately, because pupils are in your school and staff are in your school, you need to change it from everyone to just you. And then you can also say you can let people bypass the lobby, so you can toggle that on for yes or no, depending on the option you selected at the top. Announce when callers join and leave. You get little pop-up bubbles that say Mr. Smith is left or Darren Everett has arrived. And who can be present. You can limit it to just people from your organization, so people outside your organization couldn't be present. So if you wanted to make sure, and this is particularly important if you're using it for distance learning lessons, for the safeguarding of the pupils, it is only people that are inside your school tenancy. In other words, people that have a school email address that are in the meeting. So those options are there available in the meeting if you own them, as well as being in the Teams admin center. I appreciate you sharing that with us, Darren, because I was struggling to get to those options from my end. Thank you. I'm just going to have a look if there's any other questions that have come into the chat. I'll put my own hand up there. Hello, Graham. How can you remove chat for students only? That's again in the Teams admin center, so you can disable it so that they don't have private chat, but they do have chat to be able to respond to a post in a team and a class team. So you go into Team Admin Center and there's an option in the admin center to disable chat, so they can't have a private chat, can't have a private conversation without you being there, or a conversation that the school can't moderate. So again, that's the Teams Admin Center, Graham. Any other questions? Anyone else want to unmute a mic and jump in and ask something, or even share their own perspective on this, so if they've had success with a particular aspect or they've used it in a way? Don't be shy. No? Okay. Well, I haven't got any other features to show you, or any others that are immediately relevant for education that are coming out very, very soon from Microsoft Teams. I will be on the chat here for a little bit. If you need me, I'll just mute my mic. But I'll say thank you to everyone for coming. And we've got one final webinar for this term on Friday. Darren, it escapes me what on earth it is on Friday. Just trying to think now what Friday's webinar is. One moment, I want to check. Sorry, Darren, say again.
Is it the immersive reader or something?
Oh, it is, yeah. So it's the last couple of accessibility apps that we haven't covered previously, and a revisit of immersive reader, because we had a lot of requests last time to recover immersive reader in the features that you got in immersive reader. So we're putting that together with a couple of other accessibility apps that are built into Office 365. And then it will be Easter holidays, and we haven't got any webinars running over the Easter holidays, but we've got that one on Friday if anyone wants to join it. So I will say thank you to everyone again for coming along today. I always appreciate your time on these sessions, and it's good to connect with you. But I'm here if you want to ask anything. Otherwise, have a safe day, and I will speak to you all very soon. Thank you.